Balance Growth Show Live. I am your host, Dr. Travis Perry. Today, I actually want to be talking to you specifically about this idea of a supportive spouse and family. Now, I've been helping advisors, business owners for years to help them have better balance. We wrote the book, Achieving Balance. It's been phenomenal. And I've just announced recently that we're writing a book. I'm writing a book called Balanced Growth: How to Scale Your Business While Keeping Your Balance. Now, I thought about writing an entire book just on that concept of keeping your balance, but it seemed a little bit out of balance and harmony with this idea of growing the business. Because so many advisors and business owners talk to me about, well, Travis, I really want to grow my business. I don't want to just achieve a balance and not continue to grow. So that's this whole idea of balanced growth. The key component that we're going to be talking about today, though, is on this keeping your balance side. I believe last time we were talking about some ideas that relate to the scaling, the growing of the business, transformational profit, how you make this really hum for you in your business. But this missing piece will go unchecked if you let it, if you do not have the supportive role of a spouse involved. So, to give you a story here to help you understand what I'm talking about, I'm going to give you some tips and things here in just a second. I think a lot of us, you know, post on social, maybe have this idea that it's okay that we're lone wolves. It's lonely at the top, and we've got to do this all ourselves, and we're entrepreneurs, and we're solo, and whatever. Um, However, most of the business owners, entrepreneurs, financial advisors, financial professionals out there that we've interviewed, 750 interviews and counting, have all said that their balance and keeping their balance really depends on how supportive their spouse and family are. At the end of the book, Achieving Balance, I talk about very briefly how you and your spouse can be on the same page, have the same goals, and be able to help each other as you work together to achieve goals. It doesn't mean you have to be actually in the business. It doesn't mean that a spouse has to be an assistant or actively involved in the business. My grandfather, getting to the story I was going to tell you about, my grandfather and grandmother. My grandfather had a job as an engineer. He worked his way all the way up to the top ranks as far as he could go in his company there in Los Angeles. And he realized that there was really no further growth for him and potential, and he wanted to start his own company. So one day, as he was thumbing through the newspaper, he saw an ad for starting his own plumbing company. And he took his 401k, his retirement, and risked it all on starting his own business. He and his son, my father, started a company, became known as Amaron Plumbing there in Southern California. They have an incredible reputation, have built a legacy of helping their customers with their plumbing needs and being the honest guys in the business. And they've been fantastic at what they've done. Now, in the office was my grandmother. She was answering the phones and she was playing an active role in the business. Now, that is what I would describe as a couplepreneur, couples who are actively involved in the business together. And it was a family business. Most businesses in the United States are actually family-owned businesses. Of the S&P 500, a majority of them are actually family-owned business. Some of the most prominent and well-known names that we know today, considering the number one, Walmart, is a family-owned business. So think about this and think about the support that's needed. And I'm not saying you have to have a family-owned business. I'm not saying you have to have an active, supportive spouse in the office, answering the phones, helping you as a partner. That is one way. The other way is the way that my spouse and I have run it, and I think a lot of you have done the same thing, is you have a supportive spouse there at home, not in your job, maybe in another job. But reality is you are the one who's the entrepreneur. You are running the business, and your spouse is there cheering you on, supporting you in what you are about and what you're involved in. In 2020, my wife and I made a long walk down our cul-de-sac. We walk after dinner every single day that we can when it's not snowing and blizzard like it is today. But even then, sometimes we still don our jackets and gloves and hats and we go out because we have to, because we've been inside too long. But one day, as we were walking down our cul-de-sac, we made the conscious decision, with COVID looming, with all the uncertainty in the markets and everything that was going on, that we could fold. We could sell our house and I could go back to academia and teach, which I love doing. I actually really love teaching. But academia isn't suited just for teachers, it's suited for researchers. And I wasn't feeling that flow. I really wanted to be out with people who are in the trenches, entrepreneurs, and helping couples where they're at. So I knew this was my mission, and my wife knew this was my mission. But we had a very important decision to make. We had a few $1,000s left in our savings, and we needed to decide what to do with it. We could pay bills, we could invest in the business, and, my wife has taken some risks with me and she has been very supportive. And we made a decision that day to go all in on the business. Now, I don't want to score the importance of what happened, because we were literally down to this last bit of savings. And by a miracle, we had a few $1,000s. It was the worst quarter we've ever had in business ever. And I knew something drastic needed to change. But because I knew she was on board, and I knew that the idea that I had would work, we just needed to put a little bit of fire, a little bit of wood on this fire, so to speak, to get it going. That I knew it would continue. I knew that writing a book and getting the word out would help the marketing of the company and be able to serve you as my clients, and as a coach, as a speaker, as an author, be able to help transform lives of those who are struggling with balance, those who are struggling to grow their business with balance. And my wife was all in. She said, whatever it takes, whatever we need to do, I'm with you. Conceptually, that's a great thing to think about. But what does that actually mean? What does that actually mean? Well, number one, it means the world. It means the world that my wife, who was so concerned about her own children, about where we're going to eat next. How were we going? We've blown through all of our savings, blown through all of our food storage. Like, this was a very precarious situation. But I knew that this would work. And I had a conviction, a God given conviction, that I was on a mission to do this work. And she was on board. So that meant the world. But then what does that actually mean? Well, it means that you and your spouse are transparent. You share your ideas, you share your thoughts, your fears, your goals, everything. This is a form of intimacy that, quite honestly, intimacy in most contexts is really referred to the sexual aspect of intimacy. And that's just not the truth. The truth is, intimacy is the sharing and the closeness and bond that any two people have. It could be, friends, it could be brothers, it could be family members, mom and son, whatever it is. This relationship, an intimate bond, is a closeness. It's a sharing. So you, as couples and as family, share your mission, share your goals, share that with your children, what you're trying to accomplish. They'll support you, they'll cheer you on, and they will better understand why sometimes you do need to spend a late night, and why sometimes you are on the road. Um, and that is a very key, important factor to moving forward, to having this balanced growth that I know is possible. And so many entrepreneurs have been able to show us here on this podcast is possible. Now, when tough times come, what do you do? if you have this transparency and you have these shared goals, these values that you depend on each other with, you have a well to take from. You can say, remember that, remember how we discussed, remember how we decided that we were all in on this. Something doesn't go your way for a moment, for a day or two, it's all right. It will eventually. It's okay if you have a rough quarter, a rough month, a rough day on this business journey. That supportive spouse will pick you up. They will support you. They will love you. And they will say, it's all right. We're in this together. That has made, quite honestly, all the difference. I didn't come up with this concept myself. I've seen hardworking individuals way before I started doing all these interviews about the book, Balanced Growth and Achieving Balance. And in fact, I've seen several in my life who belong to the same church that I belong to. And there is a book out there called The Mormon Way of Doing Business. I'm not saying that everybody needs to be a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, of which I profess and love and a member. Lifelong, I've served a mission in Denmark and have every day stood to be a witness of Christ. That said, what I have gleaned from that book, which I think anyone can learn from, you don't have to be a member of our church, but you can learn from incredible CEOs, the CEO of Dell, the CEO of, what's that airline? There's an airline out there, JetBlue. Thank you. Just came to me. JetBlue Airlines. They've been leaders, entrepreneurs who have worked really hard of making things happen. The CEO, original CEO of RSL, Salt Lake soccer team, they have all done it differently. But one thing I noticed going through all that is the support of spouse. An even greater example, and there's a book sitting right here on my shelf that I can see, is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. And I believe one of the best all-time books ever to be written. There's some really tough stuff in that book. But I know that it was the conviction that if he knew his why, and his why was, maybe my wife is alive. Maybe at the end of this, I will get to see her. I want to survive for her. Now, I believe that that is an innate feeling, a you know, aspect of life that gives us meaning, to be a parent, to be a spouse. And in my book, we talk about this in Achieving Balance. We talk about actually Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's not self-actualization. The revised theory actually shows that it's the support of spouse and family, and it's that drive to have family and spouse that one is motivated. The innermost motivation, the highest degree of caring and love for another, is what drives us in this life. So when tough times come, rely on each other. You don't have to carry this alone. This is not a burden that you yourself have to do without the support of family and spouse. And I know countless examples, countless times I've come home beaten up, discouraged, rejected. My ideas don't fly. Somebody, didn't take my advice, or I didn't get on that stage, or I did a bad job on stage, or on some kind of appointment to try and help people have balance. That my wife and family were there to pick me up. And they can't make it better, but they can support. That said, I believe that there are a couple things you need to do with spouse and family that can very much be beneficial to your life and continual support ongoing. All right. I talk about these experiences I had where I will never forget God telling me that this is your mission. This is what you need to be about. And then my spouse and my family be on board. I will never forget that. But that was 3 years ago now. I have a way that my wife and I have developed, our family has developed, that has allowed me to keep that continual support moving forward. What is that? Well, number one, my wife and I spend every either Saturday night or Sunday night going through our goals. We help support each other with our personal goals. We go over what it is we've accomplished, what it is we're struggling with in our balanced goals. And we also talk about our shared goals of parenting, of money management, of parenting our children. What did I say that three times? Parenting, money management, and relationship goals. So parenting, money management, relationship goals. Those three areas, that's where our individual goals overlap. It's where we are able to spend the energy and time to really make that work together. And we have to make that work together. It's super important that we spend the time and energy. So we go through that. If there are any issues with our parenting, with our relationship, with our money, we'll discuss those then. It gives us a format, a platform, a if you will, a meeting time and place that if those things are bugging us or those things that we need to change can be changed, that's when we do it. We don't do it, yelling at each other in the kitchen about what's going on with our budget or our financial goals or in front of our children. This is done in private. Um, I believe that John Gottman, if you've ever heard of him, is one of the best researchers on couples and marriage in the world. And he has said that couples that have shared goals and dreams, that they're the ones that make it. I found that to be true. And in my dissertation, I've been able to uncover those facts and put them into a different light and retested these as shared values. So those things that you value together as parents, as couples, in your money, if you have those same values together, you will be able to navigate life very successfully together and in business, because this is all about supporting and keeping that balance. In addition to that, one last thing that we do as a family, every Sunday night, we go and we, as a family with all of our children, everyone's present there in our living room, we discuss our goal for the month. We have a monthly goal for our family. We go through that, we discuss it, we see how did we do, how are we doing, what do we need to do better towards this monthly goal if it's week 2 or week 3 and we still have time to finish this. How can we support each other? What issues are we finding? What may be coming up that is a problem? We go through the goal, and then we look at our schedule and we make sure that our schedules align. So that some people ask me, Travis, how in the world do you do it? You have 7 children. Well, there's no way in the world we would be able to do anything of measure if we didn't have and hold this meeting, which we call a family council. It's not unique. I didn't come up with this idea, but it has worked for us to keep our goals aligned as a family and support. There may be times where dad says, I need to be away. I'm going on a speaking trip. And I like to bring a family member, but it's not always possible. Sometimes I'm going for a training and it's just me. So, we need to have that support. We need to know who's going to help out, who's doing dinners. Mom doesn't do dinner every night. The kids help out. They learn. They actually are helping. Dad helps once in a while do a barbecue, that kind of a thing. I'm not that great at making good tasty dinners, but on the barbecue I can do some things. That said, like, we go through all of the logistics, who's going where, who has to drive whom to this place and that, to practice, to recitals, games, whatever, and we make the schedule work for us. There's no way, again, that a family of 9, that we didn't have this weekly huddle and time management discussion, that we'd be able to make the dream work. I know for a fact that keeping balance is something that is possible. I work 25, 28 hours a week ish, take 12 to 16 weeks off a year. We've doubled our sales every single year with this method, with the balanced growth method, which we've talked about in other segments, and I will continue to talk about them on the growth side. But in order to keep your balance, in order to not lose focus, I am telling you, couple and family support is the most imperative aspect. It allows me, again, to feel supported in the business, but also allows me to remember and to keep top of mind and awareness my family and my spouse, which I know I value more than anything else in this world. And those of you who I've interviewed and I've spoken with on stage after my speeches and discussed these concepts, I know deep down inside that your spiritual, physical health, and relationship with family and spouse, those are your top 3 or 4 priorities in life. And they mean the world to you. Research has shown us that. My individual interviews have shown us that. So, my advice to you in this monologue episode is to start now. Make sure that you are supporting your spouse in their goals and dreams. Ask them to support you in yours. Work together every week and with your family to make that happen. If you're not married and you don't have children, it's important that your team at work knows what you're about and that you want to keep that balance. It's important that your friends know. It's important that your extended family knows, or your family of origin. Pick up where those pieces are and move forward. I know this is going to be helpful for you as you implement it. It has been for me, for my clients. Until next time, if you've loved this, like, share, subscribe, send this out, blast it to someone who needs it. But until next time, remember to live life on purpose.